Cute dog.
Where did you find the tape?
Do you realize what this means?
That would be a lie. You stopped breathing when I said the name Olivia Pope, which is a tail.
Million fits are happy together, Liv.
He gave me his dog.
Now, whatever menage a trois you and Billy Chambers have got going on with that poor dead
You
girl,
have no
I
reason to
nothing
cheat.
to do with him.
I've been to prison, and I'm not going back.
Why the hell not?
Because I'm not you, Millie.
I'll handle it.
David, you got what you wanted.
You let that girl get into his
Going back.
pants.
In prison for 3 days. It was prison.
You need to turn off the ringer when you steal a phone.
I didn't blackmail or threaten
Olivia
her.
Carolyn Pope, you are a pain in my...
Solve the details. We're not going down because you failed to keep your flies in.
I destroyed that girl.
Everybody wins.
Consider it handled.
So if you think you can treat me like some religious lunatic,
There isn't anything you can.
The American people put their trust in me. I've already let them down. I'm not willing to lie to them.
There's always something we can do. Our
I want to
client,
say that we can hear you screaming.
28-year-old girl, is going to live.
If you don't get subpoenaed, this never happened. She opposed the White House.
Mother of God.
You didn't know.
My white hat's bigger than your white hat.
Hello. How are you? Long time no see? How is your mom? Great. Glad to hear it. Now, I have gathered you all here today. Oh, shit. Do I need to clean it now? Can I clean it later? What's it gonna do? Stain my skin? I don't know. Probably. Take two. I have gathered you all here today on the day of my client's wedding. I have gathered you all here today on the day of Saturday, January 14th, in order to discuss an issue that has plagued our great nation for generations. A problem so cataclysmically dangerous that it not only puts our country, but the fate of the republic at risk. The entirety of democracy hangs in the balance right now if we don't get to the very bottom of this. And wait. It's handled. Anyway, we're here to talk about Scandal, and I wrote that whole bit with a fake phone call, and then I realized that I'm filming this on my phone. Right, we're off to a great start here. Look, we're here to talk about Scandal. I don't know what else to tell you. Let's go. We're here to talk about Scandal, all right? I wasn't going to do any more videos like this because they were too much work, and they are, but then I saw Mike's contractually, factually, actually, subtractually, metafactually, Mike's Pretty Little Liars video, and when I tell you that I saw that thumbnail and had a kairotic moment, I swear to God I saw that and it was like the Holy Spirit had taken over my body. Okay, I was overwhelmed by the primal need to create a murder board of my own. It was all I could think about for like 48 hours. So there was a glitch in the matrix, time converged, and suddenly I had a purpose in life. There was a great murder board in the sky, and all I needed to do was put pictures on it. However, if I learned anything from the 4th grade, it's that no one likes a copycat. Thank you, Sarah. And so I needed to find a way to ride the wave that Jenny Nicholson, Mike's Mike, and that guy who did that Lost video have started without ripping anyone off, which is quite a challenge, to be honest. So my solution is to go through the entire plot of Scandal crime by crime, okay? So we are gonna just focus on the sheer amount of criminal activity that takes place in the Shondaland version of the United States of America, and we're gonna do it with some red wine. I don't usually drink red wine, but I bought this bottle of it because it says boom boom on it. So, as you can see, we have all of our little criminals sort of spread out here for you can see. And as we go along through the seasons, we're going to like move some things about a bit to make room. And we've got some lovely little strings that are color coded to represent various types of criminal activity. That's right. I color coded the crimes. You're welcome. So some background, if you don't already watch the show, it takes place in a war zone, also known as Washington, D.C., during a Republican presidency, and it was written in a pre-Trump world. I cannot stress to you how important that is to know. I cannot stress to you how bonkers it is watching this show post-Trump, especially the first couple seasons. It's wild. But yeah, the characters are mostly politicians, they're business people, they're military leaders. They are, for the most part, generally pretty smart people, so not everything that they do is illegal in the eyes of the law. That said, 87.6% of all actions taken by any character in the Scandalverse is at least one of the 50 shades of shady, right? There's also a 79.4% chance that any given action committed by any individual is illegal in itself. So there's lots of crimes. There's lots of crimes here. And out of respect for the American judicial system, before we can start putting heads on spikes, we need to know what we mean by the word crime. I took the liberty of doing at least like 2 hours worth of research into Virginia state law on virginiarules.com and like law.virginia.gov, whatever, and thus have essentially narrowed down our gladiator and gladiator adjacent behaviors into either felonies or non-felonies. Non-felonies, also known as misdemeanors, are our low-key friends, and they are all kind of represented by blue. They're just all blue. So this includes like hush money, paying someone off to keep something a secret, which is only a crime. Technically, if it would obstruct justice in some way, like you can pay people to keep your secrets if your secrets are not illegal, and it's fine. Same goes for like lying to the cops. Like you can lie to the cops as long as it's not obstructing justice and it's not about your identity. Also, like there's also the like obtaining and making of and living with like false documentation. That's a crime. Surveillance photos and videos of someone being taken when there is an expectation of privacy, that is a crime. And that's all just like the blue section. I also had to put sex work in this section, which I don't feel super comfortable with, but I'm not a lawyer, okay? I'm not a lawyer, and the conversation around sex work and trafficking and all of that is too much for me. So it only comes up like once or twice. So we're giving it a blue string, and we're just not talking about it. Okay. There's also theft. Theft is also a blue string, and harboring a fugitive, aiding and abetting, those are also blue strings. Our felonies. Felonies are where things get interesting, right? Let's start off by if you kill someone with your bare hands or a weapon, red string. Red string for you. Red string. I don't care if someone paid you to do it. I don't care if it was an accident. If you did it, you did it. You get a red string. These are my rules. We live in my world now. If you are the one who ordered someone to do the killing, black string. Shady, and cowardly. Black string. Also, if you give someone permission to kill someone, then I'm giving you a black string. Like, if someone's like, can I? And you're like, yeah, you're going to get a black string for that, because that's shady. Orange strings. Orange strings are for assault and battery. Orange strings are for torture. Orange strings are for tampering with evidence. Orange strings are for tampering with crime scenes. Orange strings are for cover-ups. Orange strings are for anything else that I deem gross. Okay? Yellow strings are just for like everything in between, right? So yellow strings, we've got blackmail, we've got extortion, we've got wiretapping. Wiretapping is a yellow string. Forgery, right? Like forging a signature, it's yellow string behavior. Embezzlement, larceny, sometimes hacking. I think sometimes hacking is a blue string, sometimes yellow. I don't know. I don't make the rules. And I also have this like very special red, white, and blue string that I made. And this is going to be used exclusively for election fraud, just in case, right? And now that we all know the rules, let's begin. Season 1. Season 1 starts off with our resident, well-dressed badass, Olivia Pope, having recently left a job at the White House where she was working for this raisin-esque sack of flour that we will call Fitzgerald Grant III. And he is also the president. So she was working for him in the White House alongside this walking, talking beanbag chair, Cyrus Bean. Yes, that is exactly why Shonda Rhimes did that. There's no other reason. So we start off the season with Olivia Pope hiring Quinn Perkins, who graduated top of her class in asking irritating questions at her very successful like law firm that's not a law firm, OPA. That's Olivia Pope and Associates, where a bunch of very smart people do a lot of very shady things to fix a lot of very dumb people's problems. They call themselves gladiators, everyone else calls them fixers, but that's mostly just because crime cover-uppers does not have the same ring to it. Everything they do is pretty shady. Not all of it's illegal, but most of it's illegal. So we just did like a general blue string to the clients, just to cover all of our bases, because we're not going to talk about every single client. We give Olivia a purple string to OPA because it's her name on the door. So Quinn gets hired at OPA, and the first thing that Olivia does is buy a baby. She purchases a baby that has been kidnapped for ransom by some Russian mobsters and gives them half of the money they asked for, and instead of giving them the other half, she offers them safe passage out of the United States. Back at the White House, Cyrus Bean has caught wind of a little situation brewing over here between Sack of Flour Grant and a White House aide named Amanda Tanner. You may notice there is a small angel drawn here. That is because I forgot to print out a picture of Amanda Tanner, but that does not mean anything. Amanda Tanner is an angel. Amanda Tanner did nothing wrong. Amanda Tanner should be worshipped, and we should all be falling at the feet of Liza Wheel constantly. So Cyrus calls Olivia and is like, hey, this White House aide is telling everyone that she boned the president. And Olivia's like, did she? And the president's like, no. And so they all go for a little walk in the woods together, and President Fitzgerald Grant pinky promises to Olivia that he did not have sexual relations with that woman. So Olivia's like, solid, great, and goes and emotionally destroys Amanda Tanner in front of her dog. After which Amanda Tanner tries to yeet herself. And while the rest of OPA are getting a gay politician off of a murder charge, Quinn is tasked with watching over Amanda Tanner in the hospital, and she runs into this dude. This is Gideon, all right? And he is a reporter, and he's going to be important later. So we're putting a pin in him. Now is probably as good a time as any to mention that Olivia didn't just used to work at the White House. Olivia used to work at the White House, right? Like on the desk in the Oval Office, to be exact. Which is why it is such a big deal when Olivia Pope finds out that Amanda Tanner was not lying about having had sex with the sack of flour in the Oval Office. Amanda Tanner was telling the truth, and Olivia knows that. And Olivia is rightfully upset that her married ex-boyfriend is now sleeping with someone else. And he bought her that dog. Yeah, he bought her a dog. If I could put a crime here, oh, I would. Olivia takes Amanda Tanner on as a client, which has everyone else in the White House shaking in their fucking boots. And that is the end of episode 1. Now, we're not going to do every episode like that, I promise. We're not going to go through every single episode in that much detail. But I wanted to do it for the first one because I wanted you to get a feel for the, like, pacing and the vibe of the show. It's all about, like, big reveals and big secrets and things being revealed at, like, the last moment, okay? The storylines in Scandal function like Gettier Cases. Gettier Cases, if you don't know, are logical arguments presented mostly in epistemology, which is like the branch of philosophy that is to do with like what we know and how we know it. And they're logical arguments that were presented in response to the idea that knowledge, like you know something if you have a justified true belief, right? That was it for a long time. People were like, if you believe something, you have good reason to believe it, and it is true, then like, boom, you had knowledge. If you saw a tree in an empty field in the distance and you were of sound mind and you were like, I see a tree, I believe there's a tree, I know that there's a tree. If you walk up to the tree and it's a real tree, congratulations, you have knowledge, right? You had justified true belief. If you walk up to the tree and it's just a really good painting of a tree, I'm sorry, you didn't have knowledge because your belief was false. However, Gettier came along and was like, what if you walk up to the tree and it's a really good painting of a tree, but directly behind the really good painting of a tree is a tree? And everybody in philosophy fucking lost their minds because no one knew what to do with that.
Too many bottles of this wine we can't pronounce.
Also, philosophers fucking love trees. Anyway, that's a Gettier case, right? Like another one is this guy believes that he's going to get a job and he's got 10 coins in his pocket. So he's like, the guy who gets the job will have 10 coins in his pocket. He doesn't get the job. John Smith gets the job. Unbeknownst to the first dude, John Smith also had 10 coins in his pocket. And he's like, oh no, I was right, but also I wasn't. And that is how all of the cases in Scandal work. Person Y gets accused of crime X because of reason Z. Turns out person Y did or did not do crime X because of reason A, not reason Z. And so that's the whole thing, is like OPA, while trying to prove this, they figure out this. So that is essentially the formula for a scandal storyline. For example, Sharon Marquette is the OPA's next client, and after they conceal evidence for her, they find on her client list the name of the next Supreme Court Justice nominee. And so they go to the Supreme Court Justice nominee and they are like, hey, your name is on a client list. You had been soliciting sex from a sex worker. And the guy is like, absolutely not. I definitely did not do that. And they're like, sorry, you definitely did. We have all the evidence. Turns out that it was his wife who had met him by accident and had been paying for all of their dates and had been doing that in order to pay for him to go to law school. So technically, yeah, his name was on that list and he had been seeing a sex worker, but not in the way that they thought. Boom. Also, they found Steven's name on this list, which is why he has a blue string, and Abby is so mad about it, and it's so funny. And the way that they kind of get out of that in the end is they just blackmail everyone on that client list so that Sharon can go home to her grandkids instead of prison. It's lovely. At the same time, Cyrus Bean receives in the mail an audio tape of Fitzgerald Grant and Amanda Tanner having sex. So not only is someone blackmailing Cyrus, but someone is also illegally recording Mr. President. That's some wiretapping yellow string behavior now, isn't it? So Cyrus's solution to all of this is to then hire hitman Charlie to kill Amanda Tanner so that she can never confirm that it's her on the tape. Reasonable people making reasonable decisions. Charlie is our quirky little hitman on the side who used to work with our friend Huck over here, who is Olivia's evil hacker, spy, monster turned golden retriever, who she then tasks with finding Amanda Tanner's body for her so that she can see if there's any evidence on there. Right? So Huck tortured Charlie until he told him where the body was. Meanwhile, Quinn has started half dating, half getting information from Gideon, who I think is also Fitz. Not this Fitz, Pretty Little Liars Fitz. Ezra Fitz. I don't know. I think he might be. I don't know. Either way, they're both kind of crusty, especially because this guy makes grilled cheese and they eat grilled cheese in bed after they bone. And then the next morning, Quinn goes off to get some bagels. In the time that it takes Quinn to go get those bagels, Gideon Wallace is able to unravel the entire mystery of the season and also be stabbed in the neck with a pair of scissors by Billy Chambers. Who is Billy Chambers, you ask? We have not mentioned Billy Chambers. Why should we care? Why is this a big reveal? You do meet him in the show, but I didn't introduce you to him because he's boring. Truthfully, Billy Chambers is the chief of staff to the vice president, Sally Langston. Now, I mentioned election fraud earlier. In order for there to be election fraud, there has to have been an election, correct? Thank you. You're welcome. Before Fitz was president and before Sally was vice president, they were running against each other. And while Olivia was running Fitz's campaign, Billy was running Sally's campaign. And Billy was trying to get some dirt on Fitz. So he started recording Fitz in his hotel room, right? So he recorded Fitz having sex with a woman in his hotel room. Now, would that be his beautiful wife, Mellie, over here? No, that would be Olivia Pope. And somehow they went the entire night without Olivia speaking long enough for her voice to be identified or either of them saying her name. Ask Shonda, not me. That's a problem because if there's no name for the girl on the tape, then it could be Mellie, and that's useless. It's also useless because by the time Billy gets it, Sally is his running mate, and she's just like, drop it. Until Billy Chambers enters a relationship, abuse of power, with Amanda Tanner. While maybe not technically a crime, I am going to consider the fact that Billy Chambers convinced Amanda Tanner to sleep with the president solely so he could use it to ruin her life and the president's. I'm going to consider that a crime. We don't do that to Amanda Tanner. So Quinn is off getting bagels long enough for Gideon Wallace to figure all of this out, call Billy Chambers, for Billy Chambers to drive all the way over to his house, stab him in the neck with a pair of scissors, and leave. She gets back with this bag of bagels, and she's got a dead boyfriend on the floor. That's not fun for anybody. She calls Olivia Pope. Why does she call Olivia Pope? Why don't you call the police? That's what everyone else asks her. That's even what she asks herself. She says, Olivia, shouldn't we call the police? And Olivia says, no, we can't call the police because then they'll find out who you really are. That was the sound of Shonda Rhimes dropping her pen on the table after she wrote that scene. So everyone in OPA then has to clean up this crime scene, right? So they scrub the whole thing. So there's no DNA left. They also like figure out all of the same things that Gideon did. I think they just like assimilate his knowledge when they're cleaning up his blood. And so now they all know that Billy Chambers is the bad guy. Olivia makes Huck promise not to kill Billy Chambers. Huck is like, I promise. Instead, Huck decides to hire Charlie to do it. Black string. Oh no, I'm so sad. What a shame. So all of their efforts are futile. David Rosen still shows up and arrests Quinn, and Harrison is like, do not run her fingerprints. And he's like, okay, fine, I won't. Does it anyway. Obviously, he's the law.
I am the law. The law is me.
Finds out who she really is and brings her back to OPA. And we're putting a blue string there because he says while he does this, I am breaking the law just by bringing her here. And we're going to trust him because he is the law.
I am the law. The law is me.
So Quinn's back in the office. Everyone is like, what in God's name is going on? And Olivia looks at Quinn and is like, do you want to tell them or should I? Boom. End of season 1. Season 1 of Scandal is so good. Like, this show came out absolutely fucking swinging, and it did not miss, okay? Shonda Rhimes sat down at the table of television and served up on a silver platter a brilliant woman of color who is complex and dynamic and powerful and just strutting around Washington, D.C. like she goddamn owns it because she does. She gives us a plethora of murderous affairs, not just regular affairs, murderous affairs. There are secret spy organizations being mentioned. There is a gay Republican official sprinkled in with like the main love story being an extramarital affair between the President of the United States. You absolutely could not have called this. No one could have called this. Anybody who tells you they called this is lying because they felt bad that they didn't catch it. No one could have called that. Quinn was the audience stand-in. Quinn is the person through which we got introduced to the world. Everyone is used to that kind of a storyline. Someone new comes into a very fast-paced world. That's how a lot of shows start because that's how we learn about the world. In any show, right? Like Walter White becoming a drug dealer is how we learn about that world. Grey's Anatomy, she's an intern. Meredith Grey is an intern. She has to learn about the world through that. In Supernatural, one of the brothers like doesn't know shit about monster hunting, right? Like that's the plot. Doctor Who, the companions know jack shit. Quinn knew jack shit. That was the point. She was our fill-in. She was the one we were supposed to connect to. If Quinn was upset by something, that was a signal for the audience to be upset. If Quinn was learning a lesson, that was a signal for the audience to learn the lesson. To find out at the very end, the last 10 minutes of the last episode, that she is not who she said she was, and that she knew the whole time that she was not who she said she was, and then to not tell us who she is? Bonkers. Shonda Rhimes took Quinn Perkins by the ankles, shook all of the coins out of her pocket, threw her on the table at ABC, and was like, hopefully we get a season 2. How were they going to say no to that? Who wasn't going to pick this show up? Goddamn genius. So, we're back. Season 2 picks up just like a couple of weeks after season 1. And you'll notice I've moved some things around. We've gotten our graveyard down here with our decedents. And we have moved Stephen out of the way because Stephen is gone. We don't know why Stephen is gone. We don't really care why Stephen is gone. I think they wanted us to care. They tried to make it seem like Olivia really cared, but we got like 6 episodes with him and he was mostly cheating on his fiance the whole time, so nobody cares. I have a Citron explosion here person named Jesse Tyler over here. Let's see. We have a new face over here, new face over here. And I think that's it. We have some new clients as well. We'll get to them. We've got a big old question mark. I love a question mark. So that's where we're at. Top of the season. Codename Quinn Next Door has been arrested by David. David is also prosecuting her. I do not know if that is how his job works in the real world, but it's how it works here. He is prosecuting her because she is on trial for blowing up a building. That building was called the Citron Building. It was a tech office where 7 people were killed in the explosion, including someone named Jesse Tyler. Jesse Tyler had a girlfriend. His girlfriend was named Lindsay Dwyer. Lindsay Dwyer became the main suspect, was dubbed the Molotov Mistress, because the police found a voicemail on Jesse's phone of her threatening to kill him for cheating on her while she took his frickin' laptop to the frickin' Genius Bar for 4 frickin' hours. If you haven't put it together, this is Lindsay Dwyer. Lindsay Dwyer is Quinn Perkins. Quinn Perkins is Lindsay Dwyer. They are one and the same. Now you know.
Well, I took your freaking laptop to the freaking Genius Bar for freaking hours.
Sorry, Jesse. Sorry, Citron Building. Both are gone now. I will tell you off the bat, she didn't do it, so we're giving her a pink string because she's being framed. Somebody blew it up. We don't know. So she's being framed. We know that. Nobody else knows that. Well, some people know that. But most people don't know that because she dipped as soon as they found out about the voicemail. She ran across the country, got herself a fake name and a fake job, and has just been hiding out, which doesn't look great if you're trying to convince people you didn't commit a crime. And they're all like, Quinn, what happened? Like, why did you run? And she's like, I don't know. I went to a hotel and then I woke up in DC with a bunch of fake passports, which is just absurd. I mean, who could possibly accomplish that? No one knows. So David is absolutely going to win this trial. Hands down, no question about it. Olivia cannot let this happen, though. Why can Olivia not let this happen? Because Olivia has this, like, utilitarian ethical system where, like, the net positive of goodness needs to be accomplished. And her way of doing that is making sure that Quinn doesn't go to prison for something that she didn't commit. She goes to her pal Verna Thornton. This is Verna, by the way. And she's like, hey, we can't let this girl go to jail. We need to fix this. And Verna's like, got you. And so she does whatever she needs to do to make sure that at the last moment of this trial, when Quinn's lawyer is like, I still think it's circumstantial, the judge is like, as a matter of fact, you're right. And lets her go. Completely acquits her. Completely embarrassing the law over here. David Rosen, just in shambles. Hello? It's my Chinese food is here. We're gonna take a quick pause. Quick pause. We can still do this. Okay, we're good. All right, back to where were we? I think David just lost the trial, right? David loses the trial in the middle of closing arguments, and his career is over. Dunzo finished. The law ate him. So we have Pastor Drake, right? Pastor Drake is the next client. He is a political, like, pastor. So he's like a pastor, but he's pastor to the political stars. So everybody knows who he is. He gets found dead on top of his mistress. She did not kill him, but it's not a great look. So OPA hides the body and pays off anybody who knew about the situation. Olivia, meanwhile, is having some of her, like, late night heavy breathing phone calls with Fitz because they're back on their bullshit. And she gets him to use his presidentialness to order the medical examiner not to perform an autopsy on Pastor Drake, which is some kind of illegal, right? Like, I don't know if it's super illegal, but it's an abuse of power. So we're gonna just give him a little AOP, abuse of power, right? And you know what we're also gonna give him? We're also gonna give him an orange abuse of power because we didn't give him a string for Amanda Tanner before. Let's do it now, okay? So there we go. Right, so this is our president of the United States. In other news, in other personal news, Cyrus Bean, resident beanbag chair, who is married to this lovely little reporter, James Novak, they're having a little tiff because James really wants a baby. And Cyrus is like, can we not? David's life has been utterly ruined because he lost that trial. Abby, over here, we haven't really talked about Abby. Abby's being a bitch. Like, I love her. Abby's my favorite character on this show. Abby is the best thing that ever happened to this show, and that has nothing to do with the fact that she is played by the literally most beautiful woman, I think, to ever have walked the planet. Don't objectify women on your channel. Don't objectify women on your channel. What was I talking about? Oh, personal shit. Yes, Melly. We haven't talked about Melly. This is Melly. Melly is the first lady. She is just an absolute political monster. We're going to talk about her a lot more later. But for now, all you need to know is that Melly is not to be fucked with, and Melly has been fucked with. So she is not a happy camper. And there will be no Melly Grant slander under my roof. Understood? No Melly Grant slander here. She's also pregnant. She's pregnant as part of a deliberate scheme in order to distract the world from her husband's incessant inability to keep it in his pants. Next client is this guy down here. His name is Artie Hornbacher. He is a low-level data entry specialist at the NSA, steals a program called Thorngate that is where the government is spying on American citizens. And the whole plot line around this is so funny because it's definitely supposed to be reminiscent of the Edward Snowden thing, and it's seen as a big deal, right? Everyone who finds out that this program exists is jaws on the floor. The people who already knew about it are livid. Olivia mentions it, and Fitz is like, how dare you? Everybody is it's balls to the wall. This is a big deal. And it's just funny to watch in 2021 as people are getting killed over a national security issue like this. And I'm pretty sure Jeff Bezos is listening to me right now so that he can convince me to buy more plants. Anyway, if the NSA is listening, please don't copyright this video, okay? So Artie asks OPA for help blowing the whistle, and Olivia's gotta vet this sitch first. Let me make sure that this tree is not a painting of a tree. She's onto it. She's onto the Gettier Cases. She knows what she's doing. So she goes and pays a visit to this man. Who is this man that you have put over here in the corner? This is Senator Edison Davis. Senator Edison Davis is on some kind of intelligence committee, and he'll be important later, and then he'll be less important, and then he'll be more important again. I think it's just whenever the actor's available, which is not often, which is weird because he's not in anything else. I don't know what he's doing when he's not on Scandal, but he comes up whenever the TV show is bored or they need to remind you that Olivia has in fact slept with people who are not the president because he's her ex-boyfriend, right? So it's just boring. Anyway, so she goes to him and he's appalled that she has the audacity to bring up something like this. Cyrus finds out about the whole Thorngate thing and he tells the president, and the president is I am 99% sure that this is your job. Could you fix it? And Cyrus is I can't. And he's why? And Cyrus is because Olivia Pope is representing the whistleblower. And since mommy and daddy are fighting at the moment, the only solution that Fitzgerald Grant III, a lawyer who has been in the military, who is now the president of the United States, the only solution that this man has is to kidnap Olivia Pope. So this is Tom up here. He is one half of the Secret Service team for Fitz in these first couple seasons. He's one half of Tom and Hal. Tom and Hal are pals. They are more or less interchangeable for the first couple of seasons. There's a note in my script that says it might have been Cyrus who ordered them to kidnap Olivia Pope for him, but I don't feel like double checking that, and I don't think Fitz has enough strings, so we're gonna blame him. When in doubt, blame Fitz. All roads lead to Fitz. They kidnap Olivia, bring her to the woods where Fitz shoves some boots on her and then yells at her while holding a rifle. All the while, her team are doing legitimate work trying to prove Artie's whole thing. Unfortunately, the only woman who can corroborate Artie's story is this woman named Monica, and she is found So they're like, oh shit, this whole Thorngate thing is real because people are being killed for it. But if you remember what I said previously about Gettier cases, you'll remember that they're never right except when they are. And one of the things that they're not right about here is the fact that Artie Hornbacher killed Monica. Artie killed Monica because he was super confident that Thorngate was real, and he needed to convince Olivia Pope and Associates to help him blow the whistle. So he killed her as evidence so that he could get OPA and Huck specifically to hack into the NSA, hack into Thorngate so that he could blow the whistle. They believed Thorngate was real because of the evidence Artie presented to them. Artie presented them false evidence, but Thorngate was in fact real. They blow the whistle anyway and everything ends up fine, so it doesn't matter. Other news, and this is the beginning of the first big overarching story for season 2 of Scandal, which is about this Citron explosion, which we mentioned earlier. David Rosen, in response to his life falling to shreds at the hand of Olivia Pope, has taken up conspiracy theorizing and has created a murder wall of his own, not unlike this one, in his own apartment. He is desperately trying to figure out if Quinn didn't blow up the Citron building, because he doesn't think Olivia would have gotten her off if she really did it. He thinks Olivia wears the white hat because Olivia tells everyone that she wears the white hat. We're gonna talk about the white hat. He's like, she wouldn't have gotten Quinn off if Quinn actually did it. So who did do it and why? Right? Because David's thing is justice. David doesn't care about the white hat as much as he cares about what is right in his mind. David wasn't trying to send Quinn to jail because he didn't like her. He wasn't trying to send her to jail to spite Olivia Pope. He was only trying to send Quinn to jail because the evidence in front of him said that Quinn blew up a building. Even though the case fell apart along with his life, he's still trying to figure out who did it because somebody blew up this building, somebody killed 7 people, and they're not in prison for it. Back to the white hat thing. So wearing the white hat is something that Olivia says and that David says and that everybody says almost as much as they say that they're gladiators in suits, right? It's a phrase. It's their justification for why Olivia and OPA do the things that they do for their clients and for the country. And basically it's a reference to old Western films where the good guys always wore white hats. And that was both metaphorical because white is like the color of purity and that garbage, but also just like a straight up visual cue, like when you're watching a bunch of people fighting and running on horses and stuff like that. It's nice to know who you're rooting for, and you can tell because they're wearing a white hat. So that's Olivia's thing. Wants people to know that even when she's fighting, even when she's doing things that might not look like they're the best, they are the best because she's wearing the white hat, so you can trust that she's doing the right thing. David cares about a white hat insofar as he knows what Olivia means by it. David is concerned about justice. And that's basically a way for Olivia to explain her kind of utilitarian ethical system that she functions under, which is utilitarianism is a form of consequentialism, which is basically an ethical system where the morality or ethical requirement or justification of an action is based on the outcome, right? It's based on the consequences, what happens after. That is a slippery slope, especially for consequentialism. So utilitarianism specifically is all about the overall net positive of an action. The doctrine is essentially that you are morally required, not justified, but required to do something if that act results in the most happiness overall and the least amount of suffering. An example that is used in this book that I pulled out from my school stuff, Fundamentals of Ethics, Russ Schaefer Landau. The example that he uses is actually gladiators, which I find is really funny. If a Roman emperor is trying to decide whether he should have gladiator fights, which are to the death, and create the most maximum happiness for the people watching, but result in death, which results in sadness for the families of those and death, versus having athletic games in which nobody dies, but they're not quite as exciting for the audiences. The utilitarian consequentialist doctrine would say you are morally required to have athletic games and not gladiator fights because they result in the most positive outcome overall. So that's always her thing. And we're going to find out pretty quickly why exactly she has this kind of idea and just how far she'll go for it. Huck starts going to AA meetings, and he's using a very heavy-handed metaphor to continue to talk about his addiction to yeeting people. But while he's there, he does meet a girl. He meets a girl named Becky. They're weird, but they date, and it's cute. David has started boning Abby. Good for them, I guess. Verna has cancer. Not so great. James is super disappointed in his severe lack of baby, so he goes back to work at the White House, which Cyrus is not stoked about. The team are working on a case involving like a diplomat who kills a woman. I should probably put that there. And while they're all working on that, Hollis Doyle calls a meeting. Why on earth would Hollis Doyle call a meeting? And who is he calling a meeting with? Who among us could Hollis Doyle possibly need to have a meeting with? Well, I'll tell you, because that's why we're here. Hollis Doyle calls a meeting between Verna Thornton, Olivia Pope, Cyrus Bean, and Melly Grant. Curious that they should all end up in the same place. And curiously, they all mention something called defiance. Defiance is now a word we're going to hear a lot. Defiance is something that these people, not Fitz, these people, they did this, and it's got something to do with this. It's a big ordeal. So he says to everyone at this meeting, he's like, hey, we have a David Rosen problem. And everyone's like, what? Why do you have a David Rosen problem? The David Rosen problem is the fact that David Rosen is poking his nose around all of this business. So Hollis Doyle basically offers to yeet David Rosen. Everyone's like, please don't do that. Olivia's like, I promise I will fix it. And everyone calls it a day. Problem is that she's kind of busy. Olivia's kind of busy dealing with a client. The client that Olivia Pope is dealing with at the moment, while I fix this, who is this to? This is Amanda Tanner. The client that Olivia Pope is dealing with is this man down here, and his name is Governor Reston. Governor Reston is the man that Fitz beat in the election prior. Remember that election that I talked about that these four were all involved in, and Sally was there, and Billy was there. That election, this is the guy who lost. He lost the election. But the fact that he lost the election has nothing to do with why he's her client. He's her client because Governor Reston has just shot his wife's rapist, who turns out not to have been a rapist at all, but to have been her lover. She just cried when she saw her husband walk in, but it doesn't matter because Reston had been planning to murder his wife's lover the whole time anyway. I'm not kidding. That is the plot. That is the plot of that episode. And we're 12 episodes into the show, mind you. 12. This is the 12th episode of the entire show overall. Not just not season 2, seasons 1 and 2 combined. This is the 12th episode of Scandal. I'm telling you. Gettier Cases. So because Olivia's busy with that, Verna ends up fixing the David Rosen problem. And she does this by basically getting David his job back. He had been like on probation or whatever. And so she is like, hey, you can go back to being the law if you stop poking your little nose around things that you have nothing to do with. David is like, absolutely, and then continues to dig into the Citron thing. We know this because Olivia and Huck bugged his apartment. Olivia Pope, that is yellow string behavior. That is some yellow string nonsense. So they are covertly listening to everything, and they find out that David has found out that Citron is not just a random tech company. It is owned by Hollis Doyle, owned by Hollis Doyle. Hollis Doyle owns Citron. Whoo! Now we understanding. Now are we putting things together? This man was like, we have a David Rosen problem because he's looking into this situation. He also finds out that this Citron company uses technology that does a lot more than just slot machines, like it says on the tin. it also low-key creates technology for voting machines. Voting machines. It says voting machines if you can't read it. Citron makes voting machine technology. Voting machines? But Biz, haven't you been dancing around the subject of an election this whole time? And didn't you earlier provide us with a beautiful visual of a string relating to election fraud? I did. Thank you for keeping up. You're much smarter than everyone else here. So the next episode is season 2, episode 6. This is a bottle episode, kind of. It's the Totally Spies episode is what I call it, where Huck and Charlie and a bunch of other B613 spies, which B613 is not up there, but I should put it up there. A bunch of other B613 spies show up at OPA because they called them there. And basically the episode is just, it does involve a murder, so we'll like put a red string up. But the episode mostly just serves to introduce us to the concept of B613, which is the spy organization that was like briefly mentioned prior. And I think it's like almost exclusively written so that Huck can say the line that B613 has done things that would make it difficult for you to sing the national anthem, which you gotta hand it to Shonda Rhimes. That is a fucking line. Like, and I don't even falter for it. Like, if I thought of that line, I would absolutely write an entire episode to justify saying it. That is such a good phrase. We've done things that would make it difficult for you to sing the national anthem and mean it. Whew. Yeah, so somebody dies and they all like clean up the body. I guess they need an orange string for that too. This episode also serves to introduce us to like the concept of moles and someone leaking information, because that's kind of the whole plot, that the B613 is trying to figure out who leaked their information. And this is something that Shonda Rhimes also does really well. It sets the precedent that leaking information and secret government things is worthy, okay? Also, the leak's name was Melvin. And also, this is probably a good time to mention that Olivia has... It is the next day. My phone died last night. Where were we? We talked about voting machines. We talked about B613. Now feels like as good of a time as any to mention the way that Olivia tasks Harrison with breaking up Abby and David. Because while it is not technically a crime, it's a crime. She does this by informing Harrison that Abby is a survivor of domestic violence, and she once escaped and survived a violently abusive marriage. And she tells Harrison to use this to get Abby to break up with him. And the way that Harrison does this is by paying off one of David's ex-girlfriends to tell Abby that David beat her when he did not. And that is so disgusting, it gets a Post-it note, even though it's not illegal. David, rightfully upset by this whole situation, is like, I need to keep digging. But he can't keep digging because he made a pinky promise to Verna in order to keep his job. So what he does is he keeps his hands off of the metaphorical conspiracy board and instead hands it off to a completely and entirely random member of the press. Yeah, he goes to James. James, if you forget, is Cyrus's husband. So now James is looking into election rigging, right? So now James is poking his nose everywhere. And James's little journalist hunt takes him all the way around the United States to a teeny, teeny, tiny little town in Ohio called Defiance. So James is in Defiance, Ohio, and while he's there, he happens to find the one and only remaining memory card from the voting machines used in the election. The only one left. And that we are calling the Citron card. Now, I want you to keep an eye on the Citron card, okay? This Citron card, there's a lot of moving around. It's like button, who's got the button, Sisterhood of the Traveling Citron card. It goes around a lot. Keep an eye on it. That said, it starts with James, and technically he steals it. So we're giving him a blue string for that, and we'll give him the Citron card. It is in James's possession. Their next client isn't super relevant, but he does shoot his son in the leg just for funsies, so we're gonna give him a little orange string for friendly fire. So while all of that is going on, Fitz is throwing a temper tantrum. He's being a big whiny baby in the White House because he's turning 50 years old and they're having a party for him. And he really, really, really doesn't want to go. And it's super annoying at the time, but in retrospect, he probably made the right call because he does end up getting shot in the head the minute he steps out of the car. And he's not the only one. There is a White House press secretary named Bretta Keegan, and Bretta Keegan is unfortunately killed in the assassination attempt. Fitz, unfortunately, not killed, but he was supposed to be, so we're giving him a red string. So, mystery person shoots the president, injures a Secret Service agent who wasn't Tom but may as well have been, killed Bretta Keegan, framed Huck for it. All hell hath broken loose in Washington, D.C. Everyone is losing their goddamn minds, and emotions are so high that time itself begins to falter, which means that we get flashbacks. Shonda Rhimes loves a flashback. We all love a flashback. In this flashback, we get to see the fact that Olivia Pope and Fitzgerald Grant could never keep it in their pants, no matter how hard they tried. We also get to see Jesse Tyler. We get to see that Jesse Tyler was poking his nose around Hollis Doyle and Citron and then mysteriously ended up dead at the hands of his girlfriend, Lindsay Dwyer. Why would a flashback about Jesse Tyler and the Citron explosion be included in an episode about the assassination attempt on Fitzgerald Grant? Does it have anything to do with the fact that the same question mark person who's tied to the Citron explosion is also tied to the assassination attempt on President Grant? We'll never know. Meanwhile, back in the present, everyone is losing their goddamn minds, and Sally Langston has decided that this is her moment. Sally Langston is usurping the White House. Sally Langston has decided that she is going to take her little helicopter, she is going to fly it around, she's going to land that thing on the South Lawn, and she is going to be queen. This is apparently the modern day equivalent of like throwing down the gauntlet. So Cyrus Bean losing his mind, and he is freaking out and screaming and turning red all the time. That's not a crime. But the fact that Mellie forges Fitz's signature on a form requesting reinstatement, that is some yellow string behavior, Melody. Yellow string behavior! I expected more from you. No, no one expected more from her. This is exactly what we expected from Mellie. So Mellie forged a signature. Now everyone is forced to pretend that the president is not literally comatose. So while everyone is doing that, Huck is running for his goddamn life because, like I said, he just got framed for shooting the president of the United States. How they did that is by convincing him that his girlfriend had relapsed and he needed to come to this hotel to save her. He came to the hotel. There was an automatic rifle there already going off, shooting the president. He panicked, cleaned up the gun, and brought it to OPA. So now OPA is not only harboring a fugitive, but a murder weapon. Because remember, Bretta Keegan did die. Unfortunately, Fitz has not died yet. Huck is like 150% sure that his girlfriend Becky has been kidnapped by whoever framed him for shooting the president. But spoiler alert, no, it was just Becky the whole time. She played him. Everybody knew that. Took Huck a minute to get there, but he got there eventually. And he attempts then to reframe her. This didn't work, and so in retaliation, Becky decides to murder Huck's entire family. I say family, it's not really his family, it's more like a family that he stalks, but he does it in like an Edward Cullen sort of way, and not like a Joe from You sort of way. I also want to note that Huck got held under the Patriot Act at one point, which is just an awful thing that exists. And I know that the president is in a coma right now, and it's not really his fault, but I'm going to give him a post-it for it anyway, because he should have had the foresight to get rid of that. Cyrus thinks that James is cheating on him. So Cyrus hires Charlie to stalk James for him. Oh no, that's yellow. We're doing yellow for stalking, right? So Cyrus hires Charlie to stalk James and find out the sitch. But Charlie doesn't find any evidence that James is cheating on him. All that Charlie finds is that, hey, I don't know, man, he did go visit a tiny town in Ohio called Defiance. Oh ho ho ho, the game is now afoot. Cyrus now knows that James is poking his nose around Defiance. And Defiance officially becomes the code word for whatever mysterious thing these four people were involved in around the election and voting machines and Citron cards. whatever it was. In an attempt to get James to stop looking into Defiance, Cyrus illegally procures James a baby. And his illegal procurement of this baby clues James into the fact that Cyrus knows. So James knows that Cyrus knows that James knows about Defiance. But Cyrus doesn't know that James knows that Cyrus knows that James knows about Defiance. So James, slick as anything, is like, gotta get rid of this Citron card, and he gives it to David Rosen. Okay, so he takes the Citron card, and he's like, you need to deal with this because I cannot be caught dead with this thing. If I'm caught alive with this thing, I will be dead. If I'm caught dead with this thing, I will be brought back to life and then killed again. So season 2, episode 12, everyone is like pretty sure that it was Hollis Doyle who hired Becky to shoot the president on account of that time that Hollis Doyle hired Becky to blow up a Citron building and frame Quinn, which he did, by the way. I don't know if I actually mentioned that, but that was him. He did that, and here's how it went down. So Mellie Grant, Cyrus Bean, Olivia Pope, Verna Thornton, and Hollis Doyle all wanted to rig the election so that Fitzgerald Grant III could win. And in order to do that, they needed Hollis Doyle to get his company Citron to rig the voting machines so that he could win. The way that they did this was he had Jesse Tyler, who worked at Citron, do the actual like physical rigging. So he had Jesse Tyler rig things for the election. But Jesse Tyler got it in his head that he now had evidence that Hollis Doyle rigged an election. So even though Hollis Doyle paid him $1 million to do it, our boy got greedy. So he tried to blackmail. No, blackmail's a blue string, isn't it? No, extortion. We're doing yellow? I don't remember the colors. I don't know. Anyway, he tried to blackmail or extort Hollis Doyle for more money, which was a dick move and an idiot move because, let's be real, this man just rigged a presidential election. So, of course, Hollis Doyle had Becky blow up the building and frame Quinn for it. We'll just, there you go, that covers all the bases. Now, it was when Olivia found out about this and found out about what happened to Quinn, that she was being framed, that she and Verna and Huck kidnapped Quinn and brought her to DC to save her life. Normally kidnapping would be orange, but this was the only string I had lying around, and I forgot. So that is why Verna was willing to help Olivia and ruin David's life, remember? Using their context clues, they're like, oh, it must have been Hollis Doyle who hired Becky to kill the president. Right? So Cyrus hires Charlie to kill Hollis Doyle. But wait, there's more, because at the last minute, after some more digging, OPA finds out that it was not Hollis Doyle who hired Becky, because while Hollis Doyle made a payment to Becky for the Citron explosion, he didn't make a payment to Becky for the attempted murder of the president. The person who did make that payment to Becky for the attempted murder of the president is none other than Verna Thornton. Ooh, black string Verna. And then Fitz wakes up and more or less immediately finds out that Verna was the one who tried to kill him. And she's also on her deathbed at this point, so she's about to kick it. And on her deathbed, not only does she say, yes, it was me, I tried to have you killed because you didn't, like, give me some spot on a Senate or something, but she also tells him about Defiance. So Fitzgerald Grant III murders her with his bare hands. Side note, he later tells Mellie that he thought she was the one who tried to have him killed, which I think is funny because she totally should have. That said, Mellie also pulls some shady shit because she's pregnant, remember? And she is like trying to save her marriage. So she induces her labor early, which is just, it's child endangerment. So we're giving it to her. We know nobody likes babies, but please. So with the whole who tried to kill the president thing out of the way, we're back to the whole Citron card business, right? Now that we've figured out who tried to kill Fitz, we can go back to trying not to go to jail. So David has the Citron card. At this point, pretty much everyone knows about election rigging. Everybody's kind of either figured it out on their own, or Olivia has told them, and David Rosen is the only one who still cares. Everyone else kind of has bought Olivia's white hat, I did it for the good of the country thing. So we talked about how Olivia Pope has like this utilitarian kind of outlook. So she thought that putting Fitzgerald Grant III and his sack of flower face into office would create the best overall outcome for the most people, which, like, I call BS, but to each their own. It's intended outcome, not actual outcome. Utilitarians are very specific about that. It's what you intended and reasonably expected, not what actually happened. So that's what she wanted. So that's why she did it. And everyone is kind of like, okay, fair game, except for David. David is like, no, not fair game. That's not how it works. Because David kind of sees himself as the ideal observer, whereas Cyrus was one of the main people who convinced her to do this. And Cyrus did this by telling her, like, it was for the good of the country, it was for the good of the people, we the people, united we stand, all that, the nonsense. But the truth was, Cyrus did not do this because he thought that Fitz would be the best president. He probably thought he would be a great president. Cyrus didn't do this because he thought it would be the best overall outcome for everyone. Cyrus did this because he thought it would be the best outcome for Cyrus. Right? And that's because Cyrus Bean is our resident ethical egoist. Egoist-ethist. Ethical egoist? I think that's the term. I didn't really research for this. Ethical egoism is essentially the concept that, like, if an action is beneficial to you, then you are morally required to do it, right? That's what makes it moral, right? A moral thing is, it's morally okay to do something if it's good for you. And that's just how Cyrus sees the world. And we know that. We can tell this because Cyrus Bean thinks that he should be president, but he doesn't think that he's pretty enough to be president, so he needed a pretty face to be president. And getting this pretty face to be president is the best thing for Cyrus Bean. He's not amoral, right? He's not outside the law, and he's not deliberately doing bad things. He's doing things that he knows other people see as bad, but he's like, not really. Like, they're just not bad actions to him, because they benefit him. He only feels bad about things if they don't benefit him. Anyway, that's Cyrus. In Cyrus's mind, it makes perfect sense that when David subpoenas James in front of a grand jury to talk about what he found out about Defiance, the best option for Cyrus is to hire Charlie to kill James. Luckily, it doesn't work out that way, because James decides to perjure himself and lie on the stand at the last minute, which is, you know, a thing. But that's just how Cyrus rolls. He's like, best outcome for me is the best outcome for anyone. Later, James is like freaking out because he, perjured himself. And Cyrus is like, you're not upset with me for rigging the election. You're upset because you found out that you were capable of choosing yourself over the country. And he's absolutely right. That's absolutely what James is upset about. And Cyrus is like, just get over it. Just join this club. It's so much more fun here. So David is pissed that James lied on the stand, but he's like, thank God I still have the Citron card. Except, whoop, no, he doesn't. Somebody stole the Citron card from him. And he comes and he accuses Olivia of it. And Olivia's like, bro, I really don't know where it is. And then he leaves, and Abby whips it out of her bra in a puddle of tears and is like, I stole this from the love of my life for you. And that's just how things work in OPA. Over a cliff. David's case falls apart again. Everyone gets off scot-free. Olivia breaks up with Edison because he's boring. She tries to go back and be with Fitz, but because of the whole you stole the White House for me thing and the whole I just murdered a woman thing, Fitz turns her down. She's sad. David's sad. James and Cyrus are fighting. Abby's sad. Edison's sad. Nellie's got a kid, so she's mad. Everybody's sad about everything, but they're not in prison. Which means what, exactly, right? So let's look at, like, the body count so far, okay? Post-Defiance. Had Fitzgerald Grant III not become president, would Amanda Tanner be dead? I do not think so. Would Gideon have been dead if Amanda Tanner was not dead? No, I do not think so. Would Billy Chambers have ended up dead? No, I don't think so. If Fitzgerald was not the president, there would have been no assassination attempt. So Fitz never would have been in the hospital. There wouldn't have been all those tax dollars wasted saving his stupid life. Britta Keegan would not have died. There also would not have been child endangerment because Mellie wouldn't have had to have this fake baby. It's a real baby, but, like, she didn't want it. What else happened? Oh, would Harrison have had to pay some woman to lie about David beating her so that Abby would break up with him? No, that wouldn't have needed to happen. Abby and David, would they have gotten together? Maybe not, but like, who cares? Had this not happened, would 7 people have died in a Cytron explosion? No. Would Quinn have had to live a fake life and give up all of her home and her family and all that shit to live in DC under a fake name? No. Then would she have then had to go through like a ridiculous trial for something she didn't do? No. More tax dollars that wouldn't have needed to be wasted. Would James have had to perjure himself? No. Would Cyrus have had to steal James a baby? No. Would Becky have needed to come and fuck with Huck's head? No. None of this would have happened. So, what is all of this business of the consequences and the results are what make an action moral or not? What is all of that business? Like I said, utilitarianism is very clear about the fact that it's not the actual outcome, it's the intended outcome. And that's essentially how they get off scot-free with this. It's a little sketchy, but you know, it is what it is. And unfortunately, there's just nothing we can do about it because, to be fair, they had no idea that all of this would have happened when they all decided to do Defiance. The issue is that they all decided to do Defiance for their own personal reasons. Olivia Pope is this utilitarian hero, then, you know, she's good. She's good because her intended outcome was for everyone to be happy and fine, right? These guys, not so much. Cyrus is fine because this was the best outcome for him. Cyrus has maybe he might have been wrong with that. So, you know, everyone's good. It's all good. That's just the way it goes. And that is the end of the first half of season 2. And that's like, this storyline wraps up. That is the end of season 2A. I almost forgot. Verna would still be alive. She might have gotten cancer and died, but like, she would not have been killed by Fitz. So, now on to season 2B. Season 2B. 10 months later, season 2B. It's morning time. Fitzgerald Grant III is skulking around his stolen White House, drinking at 5 a.m. and making everybody miserable, proving once again that he is not qualified for his job. Cyrus Bean is mad that Fitz is mad that he stole the White House for him. Mellie is mad because she has a baby. And Olivia Pope runs into this guy at a coffee shop. More importantly, though, David Rosen, the law himself, David Rosen wakes up this morning, this fine morning, to a dead woman in his bed.
I am the law. The law is me.
Okay, this dead woman is named Wendy. She has been murdered, and I'm gonna be honest with you, David didn't do it. I gave him a pink string for it.
I am a knight for the people. I wear the white.
After he lies to the cops, he calls Olivia and is like, please fix this. And Olivia is like, I did ruin your life twice, so yeah, okay, I'll do that for you. Olivia and the whole of OPA clean up the crime scene for David. Wendy is a woman who had taken it upon herself to sleep with really powerful men and get information from them and then sell their secrets for a profit. So that was her gig, and David was just kind of her next victim. And they know this because when they're cleaning up his apartment, they find the USB card that she had left in his computer while he was sleeping, like halfway through downloading all of his files, which includes Defiance, that I moved down here, by the way, because we had to make room for Mouse Boy. Olivia goes to meet one of the guys that she finds on Wendy's phone, like one of the names of the men that she'd slept with. And what do you know? It's Mouse Boy. This guy is Jake Ballard. He is the human equivalent of a mouse that was definitely not supposed to survive a lab experiment, but it did. And now all of the lab attendants are like, well, we can't just kill it. So they just like let it run around, half pet, half mutant. He's like ex-military from the NSA or something like that. He flirts really aggressively and he's annoying. Around this time, Cyrus and James's stolen baby is being christened, and Olivia and Fitz are the godparents, which is hilarious because they're fighting again. And they also find out that there is a mole in the White House. Dun da da da. We talked about moles. We talked about moles last season with B613. Remember? They introduced it. They introduced the concept of what happens to moles. Moles are bad. Leaks are bad. And so they pretty much put together that this mole is the person who killed Wendy and framed David for it. Now, we see Jake go home, and Jake turns on his TV and opens up a wall in his apartment to like 150 live camera video feeds of Olivia Pope's house. So now we have one dead girl in David's bed, one government blabbermouth, and one stalker. As a matter of fact, we should honestly probably make this 2 stalkers. You want to know why? Because Jake's not just doing this for fun. Jake Ballard is doing this because Fitzgerald Grant III told him to. But no one knows that except for us. What they do know is that this mole person killed Wendy and framed David. And they know this because Wendy's friend Molly tells them. Her friend Molly tells OPA that someone was threatening Wendy, and then she identifies this man as Graydon Osborne. Graydon Osborne is the head of the CIA, and he always plays this head of the CIA. He always plays this character. So it seems that they have their mole. I say seems because what happens next is that Quinn and Huck, they stalk Graydon Osborne so they can get proof. Just in-person stalking, no video stalking. And they follow him around and they get proof and they have him outed as the mole. And as soon as they have him outed as the mole, Graydon Osborne takes his life. So Graydon Osborne is found dead in an apparent suicide. I say apparent because it is found out just a couple of scenes later when we see our new friend Mouseboy having a clandestine meeting with this mysterious man, getting a nice little pat on the back for doing such a good job faking the suicide. But that's not all. So while we find out that this man hired Jake to kill Osborne and make it look like a suicide, we then find out that Fitzgerald Grant III is not the only person who hired Jake Ballard to stalk Olivia Pope. No. We have 2 men who have independently of each other hired the same man to stalk the same woman for entirely different reasons. This is scandal. Also, around this time, we find out that Olivia, because she's not an idiot, regularly has Quinn and Huck sweep her apartment to look for bugs and look for devices that would be watching her. And Jake just happens to know this. So every 3rd Wednesday of the month, he goes into Olivia's apartment, takes everything out, and then goes back in after Quinn and Huck leave to put it all back. That is some breaking and entering if I've ever seen it. We also see Jake Ballard break into the home of and murder a photographer. This photographer lost his life because he had taken a photograph of Olivia and Jake outside while they were working on a case. And this is bad because one of the 2 men who hired him to stalk Olivia made it expressly clear that he's not to be talking to her. And one of the 2 men is very clearly having Olivia stalked by Jake because he is in love with her. And it's not gonna look great for Jake if he goes into Fitz's office and is like, hey, I have been flirting with the girl that you hired me to survey. But that's a problem because we'll find out later that the other man who hired Jake to stalk Olivia has expressly commanded Jake to get to know Olivia. This is the real love triangle, right? This is the real ordeal. Huck and Quinn also break into a storage locker whilst they are searching for the mole. Unfortunately, Charlie is already there waiting for them, and he attacks Huck and locks him in a trunk. Who hired him? Evidently, this man hired Charlie to do that. I don't remember why, but he did. Cyrus also hired Charlie to stalk Jake, and it is through this stalking that everyone finds out about something called Operation Remington. That is Operation Remington. Put a big old pin in that, because we're going to come back to that over and over again, ad nauseum, and it's never going to make any sense. Until then, though, Hollis Doyle came back because his daughter kidnapped herself, which is just the kind of insane madness that the show was really missing at this time. And then to balance out that extremely consequential storyline where Osborne got blamed for being the mole and then was not actually the mole, Molly, the woman who said that he was the mole, turns up dead in an apparent hit and run. Now, I said apparent for a reason, but Who among us could have possibly set up that very, very fake murder? It was the mole. It wasn't Jake. At least I don't think it was Jake. I don't know if we ever find out. It could have been Jake. I wish we could blame Jake, but I can't blame Jake for everything. That would make me biased. I can just blame him for almost everything. That makes me honest. Also, turns out she knew the whole time that Osborne wasn't the mole. She was just deliberately framing him. Apparently the real mole was threatening her. I don't know, giving her a pink string for it. So Olivia and Jake sleep together. And Olivia tries to innocently watch TV at his house in the morning, only to discover that, whoops, she is the #1 channel. And she's like, excuse me? And so he assaults her, sends her to the hospital, and they never, ever, ever say anything else about it. She's in the hospital. This man put her in the hospital, and she wakes up to Fitz and Jake just high-fiving for all intents and purposes. And Fitz is like, thank God you were stalking her so that you could save her from those people who broke into her apartment to attack her. Thank you so much for your service. And Olivia's like, excuse me? And Jake's like, say nothing. And Fitz is like, I love you. And that's just that. We're just supposed to go with it. But luckily, we're not the only ones who go with it. So Cyrus hires Charlie again to break into Jake's apartment because Cyrus is not having any of this. Cyrus is very sus of Jake, not because he attacked Olivia, but because he and Fitz are very chummy, and Fitz is still mad at Cyrus. So it's not good for Cyrus. So Cyrus is like, must fix. So Cyrus finds out that Jake is stalking Olivia because Charlie finds out that Jake is stalking Olivia. But Jake also finds out that Charlie found out that Jake is stalking Olivia because Jake has surveillanceception in his home. So he gets home and he sees surveillance footage of Charlie in his house, watching surveillance footage of Jake, watching surveillance footage of Olivia. While Olivia is in the hospital, we get another flashback episode. This is not a flashback related to Olivia. This is a Huck flashback episode. And we basically find out more about this B613 business. We find out that Huck's name is Diego Munoz, and he was recruited from the military to be in B613. He got trained to be like a crazy assassin, but then he also fell in love with this girl, and they had a kid, and her name was Kim, and his name was Javi. And B613 found out that he had this kid, and so they threw him in the hole. Right? The hole. It's just a really deep hole in the ground that B613 throws people in until they go crazy. So they threw Huck in, and he stayed there for months until he admitted that he did not have a family, but it messed with his brain. So he was like, do I have a family? Do I not? And now he doesn't know if they're real or not. And it messed with his head so much that he was no longer a good soldier assassin person. So they had Charlie was supposed to kill him. Charlie felt bad, didn't kill him, and Huck went to live underground in a subway station and just kind of became homeless. That is our Huck backstory. It is important because it is in that subway station where Huck meets Olivia Pope, because Olivia Pope used to go to weekly dinners with her father at the same restaurant, and she always brought Huck food from the restaurant at the same station every week. Charlie at one point steals some lady's laptop. I don't really remember why, but I think it has something to do with the mole, so we'll just give him a blue string for there. Jake is continuing to stalk Olivia, only now he is doing it with the permission of the President of the United States, and he's doing it just out in the open, just following her around, bothering her all day. It's so annoying. Annoying. It's annoying. I also should probably let you know that at this point, remember when we said that Olivia woke up after having slept with Jake and found all of the footage, and that's how she got assaulted? And then I also said later that Jake had surveillance inception so that he could see that Charlie was watching videos of Jake in his house. If we put 2 and 2 together, we can make a non-consensually recorded sex tape. Asshole. And that is important because somebody wants that sex tape. Who do you think wants that sex tape? Fitzgerald Grant III? Absolutely fucking not. This guy would like that tape. He wants a copy of that tape. We know he wants a copy of that tape because Jake goes to him and tries to tattletale on Charlie and is like, Charlie went in my apartment and found this tape that I illegally recorded of me having sex with this woman that you paid me to stalk. And he's like, shut your mouth, bring me the tape, and bring me Charlie. But Jake, evidently not as good of a kidnapper as he is a stalker. So Charlie gets away and goes all the way to OPA and is like, please, OPA, help me. He gets there. Huck decides to torture him in order to get the name of the mole. Remember I said that he stole a laptop? I think this was why. So we're just gonna put a blue string to the mole to cover that. Fucking hell. Meanwhile, Melly over here, Melly is 2.5 seconds away from blowing her fucking lid. Melly is pissed. Melly's pissed that Fitz has been a dick. Melly's pissed that Fitz has been cheating on her constantly. Melly is like, I am over this. And so she just, in the midst of all of this, gives Fitz an ultimatum and is like, recommit yourself to this family or I am going on national television and I am telling everyone that you had an affair and that you ruined our marriage with a newborn baby. Fitz, of course, could not care less, totally lets her do it, and goes and hangs out at Olivia's house instead. And so while they're there, and the White House is on fire, Olivia goes back to work where Huck and Quinn have broken into the laptop of a Miss Sally Langston because they think that Sally Langston might be the mole. She's not, but they think she is for a hot minute, so he breaks into her computer. This guy, his name's Rowan, by the way. I don't know if I gave his name. His name is Rowan, and he now demands that Jake kidnap Olivia, right? So Jake gives Rowan the non-consensually recorded sex tape. And like I said, Jake is just not that great of a kidnapper, so he doesn't do it. When Jake refuses to kidnap Olivia, instead, Rowan hires an assassin woman to kill Jake. Only problem is, Jake shoots the assassin woman first. Oh, that's right on the wall. Uh-oh. That's that, right? Now, Cyrus, at this point, has a literal heart attack from the stress of it all. Like an actual, legitimate heart attack. And things get a lot worse because the whole team finds out that the mole must know about Defiance, right? So they're like, oh God, the mole knows about Defiance. What are we gonna do? But then they're like, it's fine because the only evidence of Defiance is the Citron card, which is fine because the Citron card is in the possession of Olivia Pope. It is safely tucked away in the office of, oh no, it's been stolen. Whoops. Oh yes. Sisterhood of the Traveling Citron card, part 2. This is where they go to Greece. Oh my God, we're almost done. We're so close. So David, the law himself, David Rosen, has been living at the OPA offices because they think he's going to be killed by the mole. And whilst there, he has stolen the Citron card back because this man still stands for justice.
I am the law. The law is me.
So here you go, blue string for that, David, because it was, I mean, technically it was stolen from him first, but you know. Now, the moment that we discover that the Citron card is missing, and the moment that the team discovers the name of the mole is the moment when David Rosen slides into the back of the car to meet with the person he stole the Citron card for. And it is in this moment that it is revealed that the mole is none other than Big Dick Billy Chambers. What are you talking about? Billy Chambers is dead. He's down here on the board. He has a big old X on his face. Charlie killed him, remember? No, Charlie did not kill him. Charlie got in the elevator, about to kill him, and then Billy Chambers was like, hey, I have an idea. And Charlie was like, what's your idea? He made Charlie a better offer, and Charlie, ever the entrepreneur, was like, I'll take it. So now we know that Billy Chambers is the mole. Solid. Good to go. And now it is time for the season finale. All right, everybody. Eyes up. Eyes up. Focus. Attention time. Okay. David has the Citron card, but after a long and impassioned speech from Billy about how Olivia ruined his life and all of these people are dead because of it, he gives it to Billy Chambers. Then Quinn and Huck kidnap and torture Billy Chambers in order to get the Citron card back, which they do. So now OPA has the Citron card. They open it. They like plug it in to see what the evidence is. And uh-oh, it's blank. Oh yes, people, that is right. Mr. David Rosen over here created a fake Citron card. And that is the card that he gave to Billy and then was given back to OPA after they tortured him. The real Citron card, Mr. David Rosen gives to none other than Cyrus Bean. Cyrus Bean gets the Citron card, and you know what he does with it? Destroys the shit out of it. Which is destruction of evidence, just for the record. And on top of all of this, remember that impassioned speech I told you Billy gave to David that convinced him to hand the speech over? Ho 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 ho! Billy Chambers confessed to a couple of murders in that speech, and David Rosen, in a one-party consent state of Virginia, legally recorded that conversation that took place in a public place, and he sends Billy to jail, gets his job back, saves all of his friends, and is the real winner at the end of season 2. David Rosen took down the mole, solid. Sent Billy Chambers to jail, even more solid. Saved all of his friends, rock solid. Got his job back, bulletproof glass. He is the winner. David Rosen, the law, once again, my friends. The law has returned.
I am the law. The law is me.
Anyway, everything is fine and dandy. Everyone's happy. Fitz is going to run again for a second time, and hopefully maybe he'll actually win. Melly has chilled the fuck out. These two are, like, talking again. Nobody is out to kill anybody anymore. Everything's good, except for the fact that someone has leaked Olivia Pope's name to the press as the mistress. So that's a problem, because now Olivia Pope is being bombarded by paparazzi, being attacked by crazy paparazzi. And in the final moments of the season 2 finale, she's being bombarded by paparazzi, and she gets grabbed by someone on the street and shoved into a car. And at first you think she's being kidnapped because she gets in the car and you look over and it's none other than this man. It's Rowan. It's Rowan, the man who has been having people stalk her and try and kidnap her. And it's terrifying. Tensions are high. And she looks over at this man and she goes, "Dad?" Shonda Rhimes dropped her mic so hard there was a level 5 earthquake in California. Like, that was just bonkers. And I'm putting it up here, right? And that's just where it ends. It just ends. That's the end of season 2, and that is the best that I can do for you right now, guys. That's the best that I have. I have seasons 3 and 4 scripted out, but I need more tape. And this is already a lot of footage. So I'm going to probably edit this and see where we're at and then maybe come back to it. Boy, oh boy, that's a lot. Should we take a body count while we're here? Let's see, who else died? We have Graydon Osborne, passed away, photographer, Wendy, Molly, it's 4 people. We still have Britta, Amanda Tanner, Gideon, 5, 6, 7, Monica from that last season, 8. Oh, that probably would have happened regardless. 7 people over there, 14, 15. Huh. Body count's somewhere around 15, I think, right? At least on the board. I don't know why Edison's picture is still there. It's not really relevant. He's not super relevant. I kind of can't stand Edison. I kind of can't stand anyone that Olivia is with in this show. I do ship her and Fitz, but that's probably just because I like messy things. But yeah, that's that. That's where we're at. That is seasons 1 and 2 of Scandal. Crime by crime, mapped out. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are excited for more. There should be 2 to 3 more videos like this. I think I might have to do things a little differently because this was so hard and my fingers hurt. Because I've got cement walls, so it's not that great. But yeah, thanks. I hope you liked it. I hope it wasn't a waste of my energy. Bye.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity, to ordain and establish